Hey everybody, how's it going? Marcos Villegas being joined here with Claressa Shields, who returns to the ring on February 5th in Cardiff, Wales to defend her middleweight titles against Emma Kozin. Claressa, thank you so much for joining me. It's been a while since we've seen you in a boxing ring.
Yeah, since March.
How is it?
I've been doing a lot of sparring. I'm just shocked how sharp I still am and just how much power I have now. But the MMA training definitely helped me in my boxing now.
In power or in what other areas?
Huh?
Like in the power of your shots, or in what other areas did the MMA help?
No, I mean power my shots, power my legs. Because there's so many different mixed martial arts you have to do for MMA. And I'm always just training. So now that I'm doing my boxing camps, I can just feel my strength in sparring, and I can just feel my strength, even when I'm hitting the pads, I just feel like I'm stronger.
The training that you were doing for MMA, obviously, MMA, there's so many other aspects that are incorporated, but the actual like strength training, how different was it compared to what you do for boxing?
The strength training for MMA is jiu-jitsu and wrestling. That's the strength training. So always having another body on you that's either your size or just a little bit smaller. And I don't think people realize, like, try to fight, try to box and have somebody on your back, right? Carrying someone else. That's kind of how MMA is. You're sitting here trying to fight somebody and they're trying to do something different. They want to lay on you. You have to use all these different body parts, to win a fight. It's like apples and oranges. It's really two different sports, but MMA it's like what is it when you always using every muscle of your body, like just throughout the whole fight, instead of just the fist a little bit.
Do you feel because of this that you've gotten stronger? It'll correlate now to you hurting your opponents more and getting them out of there?
I think that MMA will help me with that, and I think that also just the strategy and add me adding the new coaches to my team with the different eyes. We have Coach John David, of course, and then Coach GT Gerald Tucker, and I think those. I think those coaches putting their eyes together. We've been really working on just like me settling down, picking my shots, still keeping that speed, still keeping that power in those combinations, but knowing when it's time to dig those shots.
Yeah, it's interesting. You're like in an interesting, I don't want to say place, but it's like interesting in terms of like, I don't get to talk to people that have done the two sports, and I like the nitty gritty stuff, like with the training, like how is it on this side, and then also on the other side in terms of that, given that it's been what I think a year since you've had a boxing match, and I think at when the other one that you had at the end of it, you said that you weren't really, well, I quote you, I think you said you didn't perform the way you wanted to because it was a year.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you avoid that this time around?
Just more and more sparring, and actually, like, it's been an 8-week camp. I've sparred more than I sparred any other camp, really. And I was only able to spar once before I fought against Marie-Eve Dicaire because of the pandemic. But now that this fight is here, I get to go to different gyms and get sparring in Detroit, get sparring in Las Vegas. Like, I've been getting a lot of sparring. I've been training, and I feel very, very sharp. And I feel like it's going to be a different performance than what you guys have seen before. Like, I know I look different every fight, but this fight is going to be, I think, something special.
Well, it would lead to a bigger promotion for the fight that I think it's leading to with Savannah Marshall, right?
Yep.
Given that, like, what do you like her? Like, I've seen you guys like going back and forth on Twitter. Is that just like to promote a fight, or is it like something about it that like kind of you don't like?
I think Savannah Marshall is soft. You know what I mean? Because when she sees me in person, she's really, really nice, and want to take pictures and want to do interviews and stuff like that. But then she gets on the internet or wherever and says, she'll knock me out in 2 rounds. I'm not better than her. I only got to the belts because she didn't get to them first, or something like stupid stuff. Trying to down my accomplishments. And it's like I work very, very hard. So it's like I'm kind of like, I don't like her, but it's like I just want to beat her and just show her that, you know, no matter what happened in the amateurs, that I'm the better fighter out of us, period. You know, but I don't know. I can't say about. I guess I can say this because I do dislike her, but I don't hate her, if that makes sense.
Do you think this is all stemming from the amateurs? The competitiveness between both you guys?
Can be. Like, you know, I think that she's been building her whole career off saying she beat me in the amateurs and hasn't done shit in the pros. You know, and that's just being real. Like, I'm a 12-time world champ, 3-time division world champion, faster than any other boxer in history, and then the only 2-time undisputed champion right now. So therefore, you compare my resume to hers, 1-time champion. I mean, make it make sense. You know, but as far as in the amateur though, she beat me right before the Olympics, right? Mm-hmm. So I was 17. 3 months later, I was Olympic champ. I never lost the fight after that. I'm like 50 something, and I'm at like a 55, 56 win streak. If you add my amateur wins plus my, you know, professional wins, I think it's 60. I lost my 26th fight for her. So I was 25-0. Then I became 25-1 after I fought her. I left the amateurs 77 wins and 1 loss. And now I'm 11-0 in the pro. So therefore, and I won every major tournament after that. And she was there. So it's definitely levels, but it's kind of like a blessing that she did beat me then, because if she didn't, then who would I have a super fight with?
There you go. Yeah, exactly. You know? And I think it brings that much more extra out of you and her too, like the back and forth also.
I'm going to go out there and do to her what I do to everybody else. I don't really get too caught up in the banter. You know, like I'll talk my trash or whatever, but a lot of it is the truth. She is a 1-time champion. I mean, that's the truth.
What needs to happen in order for that fight to happen? Obviously, you have to win this fight coming up against Emma, but you know, what else has to be put in place in order for this fight to happen?
I have to win this fight against Emma Cozen. Savannah Marshall has to win her next fight, and then we're going to clash.
No ifs, ands, or buts. That's the next fight.
You know, unless she says she injured or something comes up on her end, but everything will be all good over here. We already cleared the schedule for the first half of the year. In the rest of the year be for MMA.
Oh, okay. So you are gonna continue with the MMA?
Yep.
Because a lot of people have said, like, why not focus on the boxing part because of what happened in the last fight that you had in MMA?
What happened? I lost a split decision. Mm-hmm. What's so bad about that? I won't understand if I got submitted or my arm got broke or I got knocked out, but I didn't really get hurt that fight. And I learned a lot from that fight. I feel like I won. A lot of people feel like I won a fight against Abigail Montez. And I still got some growing to do. You know, 9 months and to have 2 fights. Like, I skipped the whole amateur MMA program. I just turned pro. So, you know, therefore, I think I'm doing a great job, and I still have to just keep learning and getting better. But the more time I put in, the better I'll be. So I want to be ready in 2023 to go for the PFL championships. But I just have to put in so much time, you know, for the training. So half of this year, and then beginning of next year, and then we'll see what happens in August.
You know, I like that approach. I really do, because I think it's really rare for people, if they were in your position from a different sport going into that, for that to happen. I think a lot of people would be like, maybe this is not for me. What would you attribute, like, the positivity and also, you know, your attitude, like, no, like, I still got a lot of learning to do. I'm not going to let this get me down. I'm going to keep going. I want to do this still.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm doing it for myself. I'm not doing it to please anybody else. If I was doing it to please people, nobody wanted me to do it. I mean, my family, my boyfriend, none of them wanted me to do it. And it was more like, it's something that I had to conquer. Like, I feel like me making a huge comeback in my first fight showed me that I can do whatever I put my mind to. Even the second fight, she took me down. Guess who got back up? Like, boxers aren't supposed to be able to get back up when they're taken down. But I got up and I landed punches. I landed kicks. And I did a good job that fight. You know, despite everything I went through in camp, like 2 weeks or 3 weeks before our fight, I got headbutted in camp and had 8 stitches in my head. and couldn't even train for the last week and a half leading up, well, the 3 weeks. So for a week and a half, I couldn't train, and then another week and a half, I was able to train, but I couldn't spar or even wrestle or do jujitsu because we didn't want to mess with the cut. So I think I did great, and nobody knows like all the stuff that I was going through, but hey, at the end of the day, I could have called that fight off and pushed it back months and months and months. I decided to fight, get it out the way. I did my best to win. I came up a little bit short and got a split decision loss, but just because you lose something don't mean that you just quit and go back to what you're great at. It's like, yeah, I'm great at boxing, but also I believe that I have the potential to be PFL world champion. So I want to chase that.
I think that's an important thing for those of you that are watching. I think that's what separates you from other people, Claressa, is that that mindset and also being open for those things to happen as well.
Yeah, look, it was scary. One thing is my biggest fear has always been losing. Always been losing. It's like I hate to lose, and I know how people treat you when you lose, but the split decision loss in MMA just showed me that those who really rock with you will still be around, and everybody, even from the boxing fans to MMA fans, everybody has so much respect for me for even getting in there, because I can just continue to beat these girls in boxing and just say, well, I'll ever go to MMA, I could win. But I've been actually going over there fighting under their rules with their gloves against their fighters and doing a hell of a job. So I just think that you gotta do whatever your heart tell you to do. But I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm definitely gonna just keep doing it.
No, you're staying positive over the situation, but you're an athlete, like you said, that you're not used to losing, that your biggest fear is losing. Was it hard to lose that fight?
Yeah. It was really hard. It was. I cried in the back. I yelled in the back. I probably threw a chair. But it just was like, I wasn't. It's so weird. I wasn't even mad about. What was it? How do I put it? I was mad that the fight was so close, and I just kept beating myself down because I was like, why didn't you do a little bit more? Maybe if you would have done this or that, you could have won the fight, right? And then I just thought about how I was mad at myself for how I allowed myself to get headbutted during the camp, to where it took away 2 weeks of my, 2 weeks of my training. So I was more mad about that. I wasn't mad like, oh, I got beat up by Abigail. She beat me up. I'm so destroyed. It wasn't that. It just was like, I felt like all that hard work that I put in, that it was a waste. That was where I was mad at. But I got over it quick and got right back to training.
For some, I think it's different because it happened in a different sport. But like, I know, like with some boxers, when they lose the O, like they question themselves sometimes as fighters, and they question the confidence in themselves. I would imagine that none of that has carried over because you're so good at boxing and boxing is your thing, or was there maybe like a little, like, little moment that where you're like, oh man, like,
Nah, I always knew, well, one, I am undefeated in boxing and MMA. I have come to terms, and I know it's apples and oranges. It's different, and I am great at boxing. MMA, I have to still learn. If I was to be able to say I put in 15 years in MMA, I believe that I will be world champion. With my work ethic and how quick I learn things and everything, if I have 15 years in MMA, I believe that I would be able to be world champion. But to only be there 9 months of training and have 2 MMA fights, I mean, it's like 15 years, 10 months, So that's just the difference. But I don't have any lack of confidence. I still go out there and spar and land my shots, and I know boxing, but MMA, like I said, is different. It's very, very different. I didn't travel the world and do MMA. I traveled the world and fought boxing in the Olympics, World Championships, Continentals, all over the world, boxing. So it just takes some time to actually learn it and kind of just submerge myself in MMA. But I believe that if I keep working, that I can do some great things.
You've had fights now in MMA. You've had fights now in boxing. I know a big subject recently with MMA is like the fighter pay with a lot of their champions. What's your take on that, given that you've had, purses in MMA now and purses in boxing?
I still get paid more in boxing than I do for MMA, but I love the fact that the PFL give you the chance to fight in their tournament, in their PFL tournament, and to win the $1 million. You can control your own destiny. Now, $1 million is a lot of money. So I don't know about MMA fighting. I really can't speak on it because it showed that Francis Ngannou made $660,000, I think.
Which blew my mind, given that he's the heavyweight champion of that organization. I was just like, wow.
But it also makes me wonder, like, is it true? Like, sometimes they put numbers out there, but
that's very true.
So I don't know. I don't know the inside business of MMA enough to talk about it, but I know that they should be getting paid a lot of money because what they do is very, very, what we do, I'm MMA fighter too. What we do is very, very dangerous, so.
Francis has said that he wants to do a boxing fight. Tyson Fury has gone on social media inviting him to come to boxing. Do you think Francis does well in boxing, and what do you make about him maybe transitioning over to boxing?
Well, I can say that I know he'll definitely make more money than he makes in MMA if his purse was $660,000 for sure. The heavyweight division is booming right now in boxing. But I would just say he has to be careful doing that because it's dangerous. You got the big boys, Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, Usyk. Those guys throw a lot of punches. They're in good shape, and 25 minutes is different compared to 36. So I feel like if I was Ngannou to take it serious, I think he needs to get his wind up, get the combinations going. Spar, get in and spar with big guys and just check his endurance there. And I think train at least 8 months to a year before you go messing with the world champs. It's different if you're going to come to boxing and take low-level fighters and kind of build your way up. But the stature he's on, they want to throw him in there with the Lions. And the Lions are Tyson Fury, AJ, Usyk, and Deontay Wilder.
Yeah, that I would think that for him to jump right away into that, I wouldn't advise him to do that because that's a big level jump really quick.
Listen, I'm not going to MMA and calling on Kayla Harrison and calling on Amanda Nunes. I mean, I feel like I have the potential to fight them, but with years of training.
That would be pretty crazy, though, if you did do that. Because,
yeah,
obviously stand up, you would think that because he has heavy hands and if he lands, anything can happen. Anything can happen at heavyweight.
But there is skills, though.
Skills, yes.
You got to have skills to land. And also, too, when you get tired in boxing, a lot of boxing matches where like knockouts come is from the fighters not being beat down, but from them being fatigued. Once you get a fighter tired, either from punching him to the body or him throwing a lot of punches and gassing himself out. After that, whenever you hit the guy, it just seems like everything hurt him. And then that's when a stoppage is coming when most guys are fatigued. You don't really see guys getting stopped in like first and second rounds, not in world championship fights.
In your opinion, why is it that the male boxers don't want to go and have MMA fights, yet you've done it, Amanda Serrano's done it? Why is that in your opinion?
One, they make too much money and they're coddled. That's why.
They're coddled.
Yeah, if they lose a boxing match, they don't get paid less than the next person. It's like they still are getting back and getting taken care of. Women's boxing, you lose a boxing match, hell, you don't know, you may not see that fighter for another 2 to 3 years or something like that. But it's like the men don't have to do that. I feel like women fighters, we are always continuously trying to prove that we're fighters, right? And now you become the ultimate fighter when you do stuff that the men won't do, like MMA. Like any guy who I think will come to MMA, I'm trying to think. Have I ever heard anybody talk about it? I think probably AJ, because I think he has a wrestling background and also boxes. I think AJ could do great in mixed martial arts.
Terrence,
But
I think Terrence has a wrestling background.
Charles has a wrestling background. Yep, him too. But it's a very, very tricky sport, and it's dangerous. It's dangerous. I mean, those guys don't want to get kicked. They don't want to get slammed. They don't want to get laid on. They don't want to get submitted. And look, I agree, but also too, it's so much hard work to be an MMA fighter and to actually win those fights, even at the lower scale. It just takes so much, and those guys don't have to do it, so they're not ever going to do it.
Yeah, no, it's such a difficult sport, and the injury rate is a lot higher because there's so much going into it. Wrestling, jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, boxing, like everything, you know, where it's like you're constantly beating up your body every single day, even more so than maybe other combat sports.
Yeah, it depends on how you train too. Like, so I train smart because I know that you can get injured, you know, but I try to still learn this stuff. And it's very, very hard to go live in MMA, like to where you know, it's like the same way it's going to be in a fight. It's very, very hard to do that because of injuries and so many different mixed martial arts. So that's why I say that boxers don't want to do that. I mean, I wanted to do it to challenge myself, but I don't think any man boxer in boxing is going to do it. I mean, we had James Toney, but not like a guy like Canelo, Jamil or Jamal Charlo, Earl Spence. Those guys are not going to MMA, and rightfully so. Look, I agree. Like, hey, it's dangerous. It's hard work. And hey, if you don't have to do it, don't do it. You know, keep calling the guys out to the boxing ring.
My final question for you, Claressa, is in an ideal world, when, you know, your career is over, what goals do you want to have accomplished, and what do you want your legacy to be?
Inside the ring or outside the ring?
Inside the ring and outside the ring.
It's so many to name. I guess I'll start with inside the ring. Inside the ring, I just want to be known as the best skilled female fighter, right? And I want to be known to never back down from no challenge, to go anywhere and beat the champions. And just really show that, you know, you can be a vicious fighter and be pretty, but also go out there and be fan friendly, right? To where the fans love you and they respect you. Inside the ring in the cage, I want to be boxing world champion at the same time that I'm PFL world champion, MMA champ and boxing champ at the same time. I want to be able to make over $1 million for a purse. You know, hopefully, I believe that my highest purse in boxing will be $10 million for a fight. You know, we just have some work to do, but I'm close, super, super close already. So that's the goal, is to get it to where it's $1 million, $2 million, 3, 4, 5, but I believe 10, you know, just on a regular basis. And as far as outside the ring, just my goals, like I said, I want to have the big mansion. I want to have my dream car, have a family, husband, kids, and just have a great legacy. You know, a great legacy that I came from nothing, being like dirt poor, and now I turned out to be the greatest woman of all time with my hard work, with believing in God, with prayer, with hard work, right? And just always showing that I didn't let my surrounding defy me. That's my biggest thing. You know, I'm always preaching to people, like, it doesn't matter where you're from. It doesn't matter what your parents did. That doesn't dictate your future. So I took control of my future at a very young age. I listened to what I felt that my purpose was, and I've been fulfilling my purpose for a long time. So hopefully when I'm done, I have everything that I want, and I can just put the gloves and put the MMA gloves down and just say, hey, I fought everybody. I did my best. These are my accomplishments, and this is what makes me the greatest woman of all time, and just being a great person overall. That's just what it is for me.
It's a great message, I think, to leave on. Is it, like you said, it doesn't matter what background you come from. Don't let that dictate your future, and that's so very true. Claressa, thank you so much. It was great chatting with you. Claressa's back in the ring February 5th in Cardiff, Wales, defending her middleweight titles against Emma Kozin. Claressa, see ya. Thank you.
See you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching this video, and make sure to subscribe for more videos of your favorite fighters over here on Fight Up TV, and give us a follow online as well at Fight Up TV on Twitter and on Instagram. We appreciate it, guys.